Every morning, millions of people wake up believing the same promise. Study hard, get a good education, build a successful career, earn a high income, and one day, you'll become wealthy. It's a promise we've heard our entire lives. Our parents believed it. Our teachers reinforced it. Society celebrates it. The idea seems perfectly logical. If you earn more money, you should naturally become richer. But reality tells a very different story. Across America, there are surgeons earning over $500,000 a year, living paycheck to paycheck. Corporate executives with luxury homes, buried under enormous debt. Professional athletes who earn millions, yet retire bankrupt. Meanwhile, a retired school teacher quietly reaches a net worth of $2 million. A postal worker becomes financially independent before 60. An electrician owns multiple rental properties. A small business owner builds generational wealth without ever appearing rich. How is that possible? How can people earning ordinary incomes quietly outperform those making extraordinary salaries? The answer isn't found in their income. It isn't found in luck. And it certainly isn't found in secret investment strategies. The truth is much simpler. Millionaires are often built through habits, quiet habits, almost invisible habits. Habits so ordinary that most people overlook them completely. Because wealth doesn't usually arrive with fireworks. It grows silently. One decision, one paycheck, one investment, one ordinary day at a time. Today, we're uncovering the financial habits that quietly build millionaires. Not the flashy ones you see on social media, not overnight success stories, but the timeless behaviors that have created financial freedom for millions of ordinary people. Welcome to Money X Grab, where we don't chase money, we decode the systems that create it. Introduction: the greatest financial illusion. If I asked you to picture a millionaire, what comes to mind? Maybe it's someone driving a Lamborghini, living in a mansion, flying private, wearing designer watches, posting luxury vacations online. That's the image we've been sold. But what if I told you most millionaires don't look anything like that? Research into household wealth has consistently shown that many people with high net worth live surprisingly ordinary lives. They drive reliable cars. They avoid unnecessary debt. They rarely try to impress strangers. And perhaps most surprising of all, many of them never earned extraordinary salaries. Think about that for a moment. We've spent decades believing wealth is created by earning more, yet some of the wealthiest households quietly built their fortunes without celebrity status, inheritance, or winning the lottery. How? Because they understood something that most people never learn. Income creates opportunity. Habits determine outcomes. That's a profound difference. Imagine rain falling onto two fields. Both receive exactly the same amount of water, but one field has healthy soil. The other has cracked, neglected ground. The rain is identical. The results are completely different. Money works the same way. Two people can earn identical salaries, yet one builds lasting wealth while the other struggles for decades. The paycheck wasn't the deciding factor. Their financial habits were. And here's the encouraging news. Habits don't require extraordinary intelligence. They don't require perfect timing. They don't require predicting the stock market. They simply require consistency. That's why wealth often looks boring. Because consistency is boring, but boring is incredibly profitable. Why society gets wealth wrong. Here's something most people never stop to question. Why do we admire expensive things? More than financial freedom. Walk through any major city. Luxury cars receive attention. Designer clothing attracts admiration. Large homes signal success. We assume these are signs of wealth. Sometimes they are, but sometimes they're simply signs of spending. There is an important difference between looking wealthy and actually being wealthy. Looking wealthy costs money. Being wealthy means your money continues working even when you aren't. Unfortunately, modern culture rewards appearances. Social media magnifies this problem. People rarely post their investment statements. They post vacations, new cars, luxury dinners, expensive purchases. Over time, we begin comparing our ordinary lives to everyone else's highlight reel. Without realizing it, our financial goals quietly shift. Instead of asking, how can I build financial freedom, we start asking, how can I look successful? That subtle change changes everything. Because wealth isn't built through appearances. It's built through repeated decisions that nobody applauds. Nobody congratulates you for automating your investments. Nobody celebrates paying off debt. Nobody notices when you choose not to upgrade your perfectly good car. These decisions aren't exciting, but they're incredibly powerful. Millionaires understand something the rest of the world often ignores. Small financial decisions, repeated consistently, eventually become life-changing. Habit number 1. Pay yourself first. Let's begin with perhaps the simplest millionaire habit of all. And ironically, it's also one of the least exciting. Imagine two co-workers, Michael and Sarah. Both are 30 years old. Both receive identical promotions. Both now earn an additional $1,000 every month. Michael celebrates. He upgrades his apartment, buys a newer SUV, adds streaming subscriptions, starts eating out more frequently. By the end of the year, every dollar of his raise has quietly disappeared into a more expensive lifestyle. Sarah celebrates too, but before she changes anything else, she makes one decision. She schedules an automatic transfer. Every payday, $400 moves directly into her investment account before she ever sees it. The remaining $600? She enjoys it. She travels. She treats herself. She lives comfortably. But she pays herself first. Fast forward 25 years. Michael remembers every promotion, every raise, every new purchase. Yet he wonders why wealth always seems just out of reach. Sarah barely notices the automatic investments anymore. They've become routine, ordinary, almost invisible. But something extraordinary has happened. Time has been quietly working on her behalf. Her investments have grown not only because she contributed consistently, but because each year's growth had the opportunity to generate growth of its own. That's the quiet power of compounding, not a dramatic overnight transformation. A patient process that rewards consistency. Paying yourself first isn't about deprivation. It's about prioritization. Most people pay everyone else before they pay themselves. The landlord gets paid. The bank gets paid. Credit card companies get paid. Subscription services get paid. Restaurants get paid. Retail stores get paid. And if there's anything left, they save. Millionaires often reverse that order. They invest first. Then they build the rest of their lifestyle around what remains. This isn't because they're more disciplined. It's because they've designed a system that removes the need for daily willpower. Automation transforms a difficult decision into an effortless habit. And that's one of the biggest lessons you'll discover throughout this journey. Millionaires don't simply make better financial decisions. They build systems that make good decisions happen automatically because they understand something most people never realize. Willpower eventually runs out. Systems don't. And perhaps that's the biggest surprise of all. The habits that quietly build millionaires aren't glamorous. They're rarely complicated. They're simply repeated, month after month, year after year, until ordinary choices become extraordinary wealth. Next, habit number 2. Live below your means. Why the wealthiest people often spend less than you think. Imagine receiving the biggest raise of your career. Your salary jumps by $30,000 overnight. How would your life change? For most people, the answer comes almost automatically. A larger apartment, a newer car, a luxury vacation, better restaurants, designer clothes, a premium neighborhood. There's nothing inherently wrong with enjoying your success. After all, you've worked hard for it. But here's the question almost nobody asks. What if every raise is actually a test? Not a test of how much you can spend, but a test of how much freedom you're willing to postpone. Most people believe wealth grows as income grows. In reality, wealth grows when expenses grow slower than income. That single sentence has quietly created more millionaires than almost any investment strategy. Let's return to Michael and Sarah. 5 years have passed. Both have received several promotions. Michael now earns nearly twice what he did when he started. His lifestyle has grown right alongside it. His mortgage is larger. His car payment is higher. His subscriptions have multiplied. Private school, luxury vacations, weekend shopping. Every increase in income has been matched by an increase in spending. He's earning more than ever before, yet somehow feels no richer. Sarah also earns substantially more today, but she made a different decision every time her income increased. She followed one simple rule. For every raise, half improved her future, half improved her lifestyle. It didn't feel dramatic. She still enjoyed life. She traveled. She upgraded when it truly mattered. But she never allowed her spending to catch up with her earning. That's the quiet secret. Millionaires often don't live poor lives. They simply create margin. Margin between income and spending. Because margin creates options. Margin creates investments. Margin creates opportunity. Margin creates freedom. The wealthiest people often understand something our culture constantly forgets. A person's standard of living and their quality of life are not always the same thing. Sometimes the greatest luxury isn't driving the newest car. It's sleeping peacefully because your finances are under control. It's knowing that losing your job wouldn't destroy your family. It's having choices. That's what living below your means really purchases, not sacrifice. Freedom. Habit number 3. Buy assets before upgrading your lifestyle. Let's play a game. You receive a $50,000 bonus. You have two options. Option 1. Buy your dream luxury vehicle. Option 2. Purchase an investment that has the potential to grow or produce future income. Neither choice is automatically right or wrong, but they produce very different futures. One creates memories, the other creates momentum. Millionaires don't necessarily avoid spending money. They simply ask one question before making large purchases. Will this make me richer or simply look richer? That question changes everything. Think about the difference between an asset and a liability. An asset has the potential to increase your net worth over time or generate income. A liability generally costs money to own and maintain. The challenge is that many liabilities are packaged to look like symbols of success. Luxury cars, expensive boats, oversized homes, designer everything. Again, there's nothing wrong with enjoying these things. The problem begins when they arrive before financial independence. Imagine planting a fruit tree. For years, you water it, protect it, care for it. Eventually, it begins producing fruit. Now imagine cutting down the tree every year because you're impatient. That's how many people manage money. Instead of allowing investments to mature, they harvest too early or never plant at all. Millionaires tend to think differently. They buy assets first. Then, they allow those assets to help pay for the lifestyle they eventually want. Their investments begin generating returns. Their businesses begin producing cash flow. Their retirement accounts continue growing. Their wealth begins working while they sleep. That's one of the greatest financial transitions a person can experience. Moving from earning money to owning things that earn money. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens quietly. One investment, one contribution, one patient decision at a time. Habit number 4. Think in decades, not months. Human beings have a fascinating relationship with time. We dramatically overestimate what can happen in a year and underestimate what can happen in 20. Think about planting an oak tree. For years, it barely seems to grow. Then one day, it's taller than the house beside it. Money behaves much the same way. The early years often feel painfully slow. Your investments seem insignificant. Progress feels invisible. It's tempting to believe nothing is happening. But beneath the surface, compounding is quietly gathering strength. Let's imagine two investors. James invests consistently for 10 years, then stops completely. Emma waits 10 years before she starts investing, but contributes twice as much every month afterward. Who finishes with more wealth? Many people instinctively choose Emma because she invested more money. Yet in many long-term scenarios, James finishes ahead simply because he gave time more opportunity to work. Time is one of the few resources money cannot replace. That's why millionaires become obsessed with patience. Not because patience is exciting, but because patience multiplies everything else. Unfortunately, modern culture trains us to expect immediate results. Instant delivery, instant entertainment, instant success, instant wealth. But nature doesn't work that way. Businesses don't, careers don't, relationships don't, and wealth certainly doesn't. Financial freedom is less like winning a lottery and far more like building a cathedral. Each brick appears insignificant, until one day, people admire the masterpiece. They rarely appreciate the thousands of ordinary bricks that came before it. The same is true with investing. Most millionaire portfolios weren't built through one incredible investment. They were built through thousands of ordinary contributions, made consistently over decades. Imagine checking an investment account every single day. The movement feels random, sometimes up, sometimes down, sometimes disappointing. Now imagine checking only once every 5 years. Suddenly, the story looks completely different. Millionaires understand that wealth isn't measured by today's headlines. It's measured by tomorrow's possibilities. Because while the world chases quick wins, patient investors quietly allow time to become their greatest financial partner. And perhaps that's the biggest lesson of all. The habits that quietly build millionaires aren't hidden because they're complicated. They're hidden because they're too simple, too ordinary, too patient. Most people overlook them because they don't look exciting. But history has shown us something remarkable. The people who consistently build lasting wealth are rarely chasing shortcuts. They're simply allowing disciplined habits to compound into extraordinary results. The next habits may be the most powerful yet. We'll explore why millionaires build systems instead of relying on motivation, why learning can become one of your greatest financial assets, and how avoiding one common mistake can save you hundreds of thousands of dollars over a lifetime. Habit number 5. Build systems, not willpower. There's a question that quietly determines the financial future of almost every person. It's not, how much do you earn? It's not, how smart are you? It's this: can your financial life succeed on your worst day? Think about that. Most people build their finances around motivation. I'll start saving next month. I'll invest after this vacation. I'll begin budgeting when things calm down. I'll pay off debt after Christmas. I'll start next year. The problem with motivation is that motivation comes and goes. Some mornings you feel disciplined. Other days, life gets in the way. Unexpected expenses appear. Work becomes stressful. Children need attention. The car breaks down. A medical bill arrives. Suddenly, the financial plan disappears. Millionaires understand something different. Successful people don't rely on discipline. They rely on systems. Let's imagine two friends. James decides he'll manually transfer money into his investment account every month. No reminders, no automation, just determination. For the first 3 months, he's consistent. Then work becomes hectic. He forgets. The next month he remembers, but decides to postpone it because Christmas is approaching. Soon, months have passed. Not because James lacked intelligence, because James relied on memory. Now meet Olivia. On payday, before she even opens her banking app, 15% of her income automatically moves into long-term investments. Another portion goes into emergency savings, another toward retirement. She doesn't negotiate with herself. She doesn't debate whether this month is a good month. She doesn't depend on feeling motivated. Her system makes the decision before emotion has a chance to interfere. 20 years later, people admire Olivia's financial discipline. But they misunderstand what they're seeing. It wasn't discipline. It was design. That's one of the greatest lessons you'll ever learn about wealth. Financial success is usually an architectural problem, not a motivational one. Design your money to flow toward your future automatically, because the fewer financial decisions you have to make, the fewer opportunities there are to make emotional mistakes. The world's wealthiest people automate far more than investments. They automate success itself. And perhaps that's why wealth often looks effortless. Behind effortless results are carefully designed systems. Habit number 6. Avoid lifestyle inflation. Imagine climbing a mountain. Every few hundred feet, someone quietly adds another backpack to your shoulders. You keep climbing, but somehow it never feels easier. That's what lifestyle inflation feels like. As income rises, expenses quietly rise alongside it. The strange thing is, it rarely feels irresponsible. After all, You earned the promotion. You deserve the better apartment, the nicer neighborhood, the luxury vehicle, the upgraded furniture, the premium vacations. And individually, none of those decisions seem dangerous. But together, they create something invisible, a financial treadmill. You run faster every year, yet never seem to move forward. Here's something fascinating. Studies on happiness consistently show that people quickly adapt to improvements in material comfort. The excitement of a new purchase fades. The new car becomes just your car. The dream house becomes just your house. The expensive watch becomes just another accessory. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. We simply become accustomed to our new normal. Then we begin searching for the next upgrade. The cycle repeats. Millionaires quietly interrupt this cycle. Instead of asking, "What can I afford?" they ask, "What will this cost me in future freedom?" That question completely changes the conversation. A luxury car isn't just a monthly payment. It's also the investment growth those dollars will never produce. An oversized mortgage isn't simply a larger house. It's years of additional financial obligation. Opportunity cost is often invisible. You don't see the investments you never made. You don't notice the compounding that never happened. You only experience today's purchase. That's why lifestyle inflation is so dangerous. Its greatest cost exists in the future, where most people aren't looking. One of the wealthiest individuals I once heard about drove the same reliable vehicle for nearly 15 years. Not because he couldn't afford another one. Because replacing it wouldn't improve his life enough to justify delaying his financial goals. That's a different mindset. Millionaires don't avoid spending. They simply spend intentionally. Their money serves their values, not their ego. Because real wealth isn't measured by what people think you own. It's measured by the freedom your money quietly creates. Habit number 7. Learn before you earn more. Imagine receiving 2 gifts. The first is $100,000. The second is the ability to make consistently better financial decisions for the rest of your life. Which one is more valuable? Most people immediately choose the money. Millionaires often choose the knowledge, because knowledge keeps paying. Money without understanding can disappear surprisingly fast. Understanding without money often creates opportunities to earn it. Think about the people who quietly build extraordinary wealth. They become curious, not just about investing, about business, economics, taxes, negotiation, human psychology, decision-making, because every lesson improves future financial choices. Warren Buffett once remarked that the best investment you can make is in yourself. Why? Because no market crash can permanently erase knowledge. No recession can confiscate skills. No inflation can reduce your ability to solve valuable problems. Learning compounds, just like investing. Every book changes how you read the next one. Every business lesson improves the next decision. Every financial mistake becomes tuition, if you're willing to learn from it. Let's compare 2 professionals. David receives a significant promotion. He celebrates by upgrading nearly everything in his life. Emily receives the same promotion. She celebrates too, but she also decides something else. Every week, she spends several hours studying investing, learning about taxes, reading annual reports, understanding business models, listening to respected economists. She isn't trying to become an expert overnight. She's simply becoming slightly wiser every month. Fast forward 15 years. David still earns an excellent salary. Emily does too, but Emily's financial decisions have become dramatically better. She avoids costly mistakes, recognizes opportunities earlier, negotiates more confidently, invests more patiently. Her education has quietly increased every dollar she earns. That's something few people talk about. Your financial future isn't determined only by how much money enters your bank account. It's also shaped by the quality of the decisions you make after it arrives. Every financial book, every thoughtful conversation, every lesson about investing, every mistake honestly examined, they're all adding something invisible to your future. Better judgment. And in the world of wealth building, better judgment is one of the highest return investments you'll ever make. Because income may determine how much money you receive, but wisdom often determines how much you keep. Millionaires don't know everything. They simply keep learning long after everyone else stops. The final habits may be the most overlooked of all. We'll explore why protecting your wealth is just as important as building it, why comparison quietly destroys financial freedom, and why the simplest habit of all, consistency, has created more millionaires than any investment strategy ever invented. Then we'll conclude with the complete Money X Grab framework for building lasting wealth. The financial habits that quietly build millionaires. It's simpler than you think. Habit number 8. Protect what you build. Imagine spending 20 years building your dream home. Every brick, every window, every detail, carefully planned. Now, imagine leaving the front door unlocked every night. It sounds ridiculous. Yet that's exactly how many people manage their finances. They spend years trying to build wealth, without spending enough time protecting it. Here's something the financial world doesn't often celebrate. Building wealth is exciting. Protecting wealth is quiet. And yet, history has shown that keeping wealth is often harder than creating it. One unexpected medical emergency, one lawsuit, one prolonged job loss, one natural disaster, one poorly timed financial decision can erase years of progress. Millionaires understand that wealth isn't only about growth, it's about resilience. That's why many financially successful people quietly prioritize emergency savings, appropriate insurance, diversified investments, estate planning, thoughtful tax planning, and avoiding unnecessary concentration in a single investment or income source. None of these topics are exciting. They don't go viral, but they create something priceless: peace of mind. Think about the strongest trees in a forest. They don't survive storms because they're the tallest. They survive because their roots run deep. Financial resilience works the same way. The people who remain wealthy through recessions, market crashes, and economic uncertainty usually aren't the ones chasing the highest returns. They're the ones who prepared for uncertainty long before it arrived. Because protecting wealth isn't fear, it's wisdom. The goal isn't simply becoming rich. The goal is remaining financially secure for decades. And that requires building a financial foundation strong enough to weather life's inevitable storms. Habit number 9. Stop comparing your life to everyone else's. One of the most expensive financial habits doesn't appear on a bank statement. It happens inside our minds. Comparison. Every day, we're surrounded by carefully curated images of success. Luxury homes, designer clothes, perfect vacations, entrepreneurs claiming overnight success, 20-year-olds driving exotic cars. And without realizing it, our financial goals slowly begin changing. Not because our needs changed, because our expectations did. There's an old saying, comparison is the thief of joy, but it can also become the thief of wealth. Imagine two neighbors. One quietly invests every month. The other constantly upgrades everything because he wants to keep up with everyone around him. Who appears wealthier? Probably the second. Who becomes wealthier? Usually the first. Because financial freedom often grows in silence. The loudest lifestyles aren't always the strongest financial foundations. Here's something fascinating. The people you're trying to impress are often trying to impress someone else. It's a never-ending cycle. The newest phone becomes old. The newest car becomes common. The luxury neighborhood becomes ordinary. The finish line keeps moving. Millionaires eventually step off that treadmill. They stop asking, "What will people think?" They begin asking, "What kind of life am I actually trying to build?" That's an incredibly powerful question. Because your financial plan should reflect your values, not someone else's social media feed. True wealth isn't having more than your neighbor. It's needing less validation from your neighbor. And perhaps the greatest luxury of all is living a life you genuinely enjoy without needing anyone else's approval. Habit number 10, keep showing up. We've talked about habits, systems, investing, lifestyle, psychology, knowledge, protection. But underneath all of them lies one habit that quietly ties everything together: consistency. The financial world often celebrates spectacular success. The investor who picked the perfect stock, the entrepreneur who built a billion-dollar company, the person who retired early. But those stories often hide something much less exciting: years, sometimes decades, of showing up, again and again and again. Imagine saving $100, not once, but every single month. Imagine investing regularly, whether markets rise or fall. Imagine continuing, even when progress feels invisible. That's how wealth grows, not because every decision is perfect, but because consistency quietly overpowers perfection. There's a quote often attributed to Aristotle: "We are what we repeatedly do." Whether or not he said those exact words, the principle remains true. Your financial future isn't determined by one extraordinary decision. It's determined by thousands of ordinary decisions. One automatic investment, one skipped impulse purchase, one book read, one debt payment, one patient year, then another, until one day people call you lucky. But luck had very little to do with it. What they see is the result. What they don't see are the thousands of invisible decisions that quietly created it. Millionaires aren't built in moments. They're built in routines. The Money X Grab framework. Throughout today's journey, we've uncovered habits that quietly build lasting wealth. Now let's simplify everything into one framework you'll remember long after this video ends. I call it the Money X Grab framework. G. Grow your income. Never stop developing valuable skills. Your earning potential expands when your value expands. Invest in yourself first. R. Retain more than you spend. Income creates opportunity. Margin creates wealth. Live below your means, not below your dreams. A. Acquire appreciating assets. Own businesses. Invest consistently. Build assets that have the potential to grow over time and produce future income. Let your money begin working alongside you. B. Build systems that work automatically. Don't rely on motivation. Create financial systems that continue working even when life becomes busy. Automation beats intention. Every time. When these four habits work together, something remarkable happens. Money becomes less stressful. Financial decisions become clearer. Wealth begins growing almost quietly, not because life became easier, but because your systems became stronger. That's what Money X Grab is really about. Not chasing money. Building the systems that allow money to quietly work for you. If you've made it this far, I want to leave you with one final thought. Our world celebrates noise, fast success, luxury, attention, but wealth rarely grows that way. Real wealth is surprisingly quiet. It's built by the person who quietly invests every payday, the family that chooses financial freedom over financial appearances, the entrepreneur who reinvests instead of showing off, the employee who spends years mastering valuable skills, the retiree who patiently allowed time to do what time has always done. Multiply consistency. Perhaps the greatest financial lesson isn't about money at all. It's about becoming the kind of person who can consistently make good decisions, even when nobody is watching. Because financial freedom isn't a destination. It's the result of thousands of small choices, made long before anyone notices the outcome. So the next time you receive a raise, remember, it's not simply more money. It's another opportunity to build your future. The next time you're tempted to compare your life to someone else's, remember, you're seeing their highlights, not their balance sheet. And the next time you wonder whether one small financial decision really matters, remember this: a mighty oak tree doesn't appear overnight. It begins as a tiny seed, watered consistently, for years. Your financial future works exactly the same way. One decision, one habit, 1 month, 1 year. Until one day, the life you've been patiently building becomes the life you're living. Thank you for spending this time with me. If today's episode changed the way you think about money, consider subscribing to Money X Grab, where we decode the psychology, systems, and strategies behind lasting wealth. And before you leave, I'd love to hear from you. Which one of these 10 habits are you going to start or strengthen this week? Share it in the comments below. You never know. Your decision today might inspire someone else's financial future tomorrow. Until next time, don't just earn money. Understand it, build it, and let it work for you.